like you. Be strong to hold the powers of the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Diorpop. Today isn't about perfection, achievements, or the spotlight. It's about honesty. It's about why imperfection became the very reason BTS is loved so deeply. And through Jimin's words, we'll reflect on love, connection, and what it truly means to stand together as a family. Jimin once sat in a long, quiet pause before he finally spoke. His voice was calm, but there was a subtle tremor beneath each word, a kind of honesty that felt unfiltered, as if he wasn't only speaking to ARMY, but also to himself. He said there are moments when he truly wonders why they receive such an overwhelming amount of love. Why so many people from all corners of the world choose to stay, to support, and to love them without conditions. Why their names are spoken with pride, and why even their smallest steps are met with warmth and attention. I'm sure many people already know this, he said softly, but I think the reason you all like us is because we are not perfect. The sentence was simple, yet profound. Jimin wasn't talking about achievements, records, or stages flooded with lights. He didn't mention trophies or incredible numbers. He spoke about flaws. About the small cracks that make them feel real. Because we are not perfect, he continued, we have many shortcomings. And that is exactly why. In a world that constantly demands perfection, an admission like that feels brave. Jimin didn't try to present himself as someone who is always strong, always right, or always shining. He acknowledged the days when he doubts himself, when he feels tired, when he doesn't know where to go next. And perhaps that is where ARMY sees their own reflection. BTS has never stood as untouchable figures carved in stone. They stand as human beings, with wounds, with mistakes, with long processes that are not always beautiful. And Jimin knows that sincere love often isn't born from perfection, but from the courage to keep standing even when you feel fragile. In the middle of that reflection, Jimin also touched on something that is often misunderstood. About relationships. About togetherness. About how they survive as a team. With gentleness, yet quiet firmness, he made it clear that he and Jungkook, just like every other member, are not meant to be compared or placed against one another. They are not two sides competing for the spotlight, but pieces that naturally complete each other. I and Jungkook, his words seem to imply, are not about who is more or who is better. We are about filling the spaces where the other falls short. Jimin is someone deeply sensitive, emotionally aware, often carrying feelings heavier than what the surface shows. Jungkook, on the other hand, brings an honest, spontaneous energy, someone who keeps learning, keeps growing, and never stops trying. When one hesitates, the other offers strength. When one retreats into silence, the other stays close, without the need for many words. Their bond, whatever name people choose to give it, was built through time. Through exhausting trainee days, through failures unseen by cameras, through quiet nights when only they understood how heavy their dreams truly were. But Jimin wanted one thing to be understood clearly: BTS is a family. No member stands above the others. No one deserves to be pushed down just to elevate another. Each of them carries a different color, a different wound, a different story. Without even one of them, BTS would never be the BTS the world knows today. Comparing, belittling, or tearing down one member to defend another is not love. It only turns affection into a new kind of harm. Jimin seemed to remind everyone that real love protects all of them, respects all of them, and understands them as one whole. He knows fans often notice the smallest moments. A brief glance, a restrained smile, a simple habit that seems insignificant. But behind all of that, what matters most isn't speculation or labels. It's trust that grows over time. Jimin never claimed perfection in any relationship. He simply believes that humans can support one another, learn from one another, and become a place of comfort when the world feels too harsh. And maybe that is why ARMY stays. Because BTS doesn't offer the illusion of a perfect life. They offer the courage to be honest. The courage to admit that loving yourself and others is a long journey. The courage to say, I'm still lacking, but I will keep trying. At the end of his reflection, one message remained, deeply human and quietly powerful. Do not turn love into a weapon. Do not turn support into a reason to hate. BTS stands not because of one person, but because of togetherness. And Jimin, with all his imperfections, hopes for just one thing, that the love they receive will continue to grow as something warm, not sharp. As an embrace, not a comparison. As a family, not a division. There is a quiet maturity in the way Jimin speaks about love, one that doesn't demand applause, attention, or validation. It's the kind of understanding that comes from having walked a long road, stumbled more than once, and learned that staying together is never about being flawless, but about choosing each other again and again. He understands that people often romanticize moments they see on screen. A glance held a second longer. A hand that lingers. A laugh that feels softer when shared between two familiar souls. But Jimin knows that what truly holds them together exists far beyond those fleeting images. It lives in patience, in forgiveness, in the silent agreements made without words. With Jungkook, especially, there is a rhythm that doesn't need to be explained. Not because it is perfect, but because it is honest. They have grown side by side, sometimes stumbling, sometimes pulling each other forward. And in that growth, they learn something essential. Love is not about standing in the same place forever, but about moving forward while holding the same direction. There are days when Jimin feels too much. When emotions arrive all at once, heavy and overwhelming. And there are days when Jungkook doubts himself, questioning whether he is enough, whether he is doing things right. In those moments, they don't fix each other. They don't try to become heroes. They simply stay. And staying, Jimin believes, is one of the bravest things a person can do. He has seen how easily love can turn into expectation, how admiration can become pressure. How words meant to praise can unintentionally wound others. That is why he speaks so carefully when it comes to BTS as a whole. Because their bond was never meant to be dissected into rankings or comparisons. Each member carries something irreplaceable. Each one fills a space no one else can. Remove even a single piece and the balance shifts. Not because one is better than the others, but because they were never meant to stand alone. Jimin wants ARMY to understand that loving BTS does not mean choosing sides. It does not mean elevating one by diminishing another. Real love is wide enough to hold everyone, gentle enough to protect, strong enough to resist division. He knows fans see fragments, moments captured in time. But behind those fragments is a shared history filled with arguments, reconciliations, laughter, exhaustion, and quiet understanding. A history that taught them that family is not defined by blood, but by commitment. And commitment, Jimin has learned, is not loud. It's present in late-night conversations when the world has gone silent. In checking on each other without being asked. In recognizing when to speak, and when silence is kinder. It's present in choosing empathy over ego, again and again. That is the love BTS carries. Not polished. Not perfect. But deeply human. Jimin doesn't ask ARMY to see them as ideals. He asks to be seen as people, still learning, still growing, still trying to become better than they were yesterday. He asks for patience, not blind devotion. For understanding, not unrealistic expectations. Because when love becomes unconditional, it no longer demands perfection. It allows space for mistakes. For us. For healing. And perhaps that is the greatest connection between BTS and ARMY. They grow together. They fall, stand up, and move forward together. Not because the path is easy, but because it is shared. In the end, Jimin's message is not complicated. It is soft, steady, and sincere. Love us as we are. Protect all of us. Do not turn affection into comparison. Do not turn admiration into harm. Let love remain what it was always meant to be. A place of warmth, a place of safety, a place to come home to. If you want, I can. And maybe that's the most beautiful truth of all. BTS doesn't stay together because they are perfect. They stay because they choose each other, again and again. Thank you for listening. Thank you for understanding. And thank you for loving them as a family. This has been Diorpop. See you in the next story.